What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It is time to give you my updated college football playoff predictions as we head into week number 14 of the 2024 college football season. We got the college football playoff rankings coming out once again tonight. They're coming out at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so they're not coming out like they did last week at 7 o'clock Eastern time. They're coming out at 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight, so be sure to stay tuned for those rankings. And who do you think is going to be ranked in the top 25, but also who do you think is going to be in the 12-team playoff field? Let me know in the comments below. But in this video, I'm going to give you my updated 12-team playoff field for these predictions. I've been doing this, of course, week by week throughout the entire regular season. And we have made some changes here and there and made a lot of changes, sometimes here and there as well. Going into this week, I have made quite a few changes here. We've seen some teams collapse over the weekend, and you're going to see some brand new teams in here just based off of what happened on the chaos there in week number 13. And I will be changing my picks next weekend. After the conference championship games, when conference championship game, weekends come out, for, next week, I am going to be making changes for all my predictions, and I'm going to show you what I think is going to happen after those conference championship games are completed. So that's what I'm going to be doing here, for next week, but this is just, again, based off of regular season play. So let's go ahead and jump right into the bracket here for the 12-team playoff. This is what my top 5 conference champions look like. We go to the top 4 here first. So I got Oregon at number 1. They've been my number 1 seed for quite some time, probably since, they defeated Ohio State back in the month of October. So the Ducks still here at number 1, and then Texas here at number 2. Texas has been my number 2 seed ever since, Georgia lost to Ole Miss and everything. I don't think Texas is going to win the SEC championship. I mean, as of right now, I'd probably take Georgia because Texas still has to play Texas A&M this Saturday on the road. So that one really could be a tricky game there for Texas. If they lose that game, then we might see Georgia here at number 2 next weekend. So keep an eye on that game for this weekend for the Longhorns. Miami is back in the top 4 for me at number 3. Look, I know Miami doesn't really have a great resume compared to all these other teams, like the 2 other teams at the conference championship with Boise State and Arizona State. The committee loves Miami. They had this Miami team ranked number 3, I believe, in the 12-team playoff bracket from last week's rankings. So, yeah, the committee is giving Miami a lot of respect, but they're not giving a lot of respect to some of these other teams, like, for example, SMU, which you'll talk about here in just a moment. But, yeah, Miami here at number 3, and then Boise State at number 4. So last week I had Colorado here at number 4, but they lost to Kansas, so I don't really feel like Colorado's going to get that number 4 seed. In fact, I don't think a Big 12 champion is going to be that number 4 seed because if you look at the resumes between Boise State and all these Big 12 teams, the Big 12 has been so wide open, and you're not really getting a lot of quality wins on your resume, and Arizona State just doesn't have that. Yes, they defeated BYU, but you look at Boise State's resume, they have a win over UNLV, which they already beat this year. They'll likely meet them in the conference championship at the Group of 5 level in the Mountain West, and then you got the loss to Oregon, which is a big loss for them that, they lost to back in week number 2. That's a really good loss for them. They only lost that game by 3, so I think you had to put Boise State here at number 4. And plus, in real life, in the playoff committee put Boise State at number 4 last week, and then they put the Big 12 champion at number 12. And that number 12 seed for me is Arizona State. They defeated BYU 28-23, so that was kind of enough for me to put the Sun Devils here at the number 12 seed. So I think Arizona State's going to be that Group of 5, or not that Group of 5 champion. They'll be that last, conference champion that gets in here at the top 5 conference championship group. Again, I think Oregon would be number 1, Texas would be number 2, Miami would be number 3, but Boise State definitely would have a better resume than the Big 12 champion. So I got the Broncos at number 4, and then Arizona State here at number 12. Let's now get to the at-large teams here. We'll start from number 5 and work our way to number 11. So starting here with number 5, that's the Ohio State Buckeyes. So Ohio State's still my number 5 seed. I have not made a change here ever since, their loss to Oregon. Like I said, I really will change my picks here for next week because that's where my real predictions come, in the postseason. It's not really like preseason predictions or anything like that. it is, just my prediction of what I think the committee is going to do after those conference championship games, and then also maybe a team loses and everything. I think the committee is going to do this or do that, so I'm going to put Ohio State here at number 5 for right now. Again, this is based off of regular season play. This is what I think the playoff field would look like based off of what happened this past weekend. So Ohio State here is still my number 5 seed. Number 6 for me is still the Georgia Bulldogs. I think Georgia's going to win out. They go 10-2. They do get to the SEC championship, and let's say based off of regular season play, they're going to lose to Texas, and that would probably put them at number 6. So that would put them, as the second at-large team at runner-up for their conference championship. So Georgia here at number 6. Number 7 is Penn State. Penn State, I think, is going to win out. They go 11-1. They get in there as an at-large team at 11-1. So the Nittany Lions here at number 7. Number 8 for me is Notre Dame. So Notre Dame gets in here at number 8. Notre Dame's been on a winning streak. They've been on a winning streak ever since they lost to Northern Illinois. They've kind of been in, they've been like just outside the top 5 and everything, and maybe also just outside the top 6, out of the teams that they have in the bracket here. But yeah, Notre Dame here at number 8, they don't really have the best resume, but they got a win over Texas A&M. They got the loss to Northern Illinois, which is one of their worst losses on their resume, but the committee hasn't really penalized them for that loss, so I think Notre Dame's going to be just fine. Even if they lose on Saturday to USC, I still think they make it in here as an at-large team. They'll probably not be here at number 8, though. They probably will be maybe at number 10 or maybe number 11. Maybe they could be at number 9. We never know about this 12-team playoff. Again, it's going to be really exciting to watch when it comes here into the month of December. Moving on to number 9, that's Tennessee. Boy, Tennessee got a lot of help this past weekend. You look at 3 teams that lost over the weekend: Alabama, Ole Miss, and then Texas A&M. All 3 of those teams likely were playoff contenders that could have been here for this week, but they were not. So Tennessee got some big help, with Alabama losing on the road at Oklahoma, which Tennessee has already beaten Alabama. They definitely deserve to be back here in this playoff field. I would be very surprised if the committee did not put Tennessee back in the playoff field. That would definitely just be a disagreement there, and I just think that would be a little bit disrespectful if the committee done that. So Tennessee definitely deserves to be back here in this playoff field at number 9. Moving on to number 10, another team that got some help over the weekend, that was SMU. SMU is one of the top teams in the ACC right now. Let's say Miami beats SMU in the conference championship game. SMU, I think, would still likely get in. We talked about that in the recap video a couple days ago. If you have not seen that video, be sure to go back and check it out. I did say that a couple of ACC teams could make it into the 12-team playoff. And again, Miami, if they beat SMU, SMU is just going to have a couple of losses, and that loss to Miami and that loss to BYU, that should be enough for them to get into the college football playoff. So again, SMU did get a lot of help though over the weekend because of Ole Miss and Alabama losing. That's the reason why you're seeing SMU here at the number 10 seed. Again, I don't think you can penalize a team that just lost their conference championship. Let's say it's a blowout, then the committee might not put them in, but if they keep it close, then the committee's got to put them in. This committee has really disrespected this SMU team as a one-loss team. They should be in there in the playoff field for tonight. I would be very surprised if the committee did not put them in there. So yeah, SMU here at number 10. And then we move on to number 11, another team that really got some help over the weekend, even though they were not competitive in their game this past weekend, and that's going to be the Indiana Hoosiers. So Indiana wasn't really competitive against Ohio State. They lost that game 38-15. I wasn't going to have Indiana here at the number 11 spot, but I got to put them in here because we saw a couple of teams, Alabama and Ole Miss, lose over the past weekend. They now lost 3 games in a row, or not 3 games in a row, but 3 games on the season. So I think Indiana with 1 loss, and also after playing Ohio State, not very competitive, but with a loss there on their resume, the committee is going to put Indiana in here, but they're not going to get in there as a top 10 team, and definitely not just inside the top 5 because of that loss to Ohio State 38-15. So yeah, Indiana I think gets in here. So Indiana is very lucky to get in here. I would be very surprised if the playoff committee did not put them in here. Look, I had a lot of hate towards Indiana, a couple days ago in my recap video. I did not say they were a playoff contender. I mean, they could still probably, be competitive in the playoff, but it's going to be very tough to see who they will play in that first round matchup. So Indiana here at number 11. I think Indiana finds a way to sneak in here after all the chaos that we had in week number 13. So this is what I think the playoff field will look like after, pretty much, based off of how the this past weekend went. So let's now make predictions if these games were to happen this weekend. So we'll start with the first round games. Remember, first round games are held in on campuses. So we start here with the first round games. I think Tennessee beats Notre Dame, even though that game is on the road. Tennessee's got a pretty good defense. They've been showing that pretty much all year long. Their offense, hasn't been really good at times. We've seen it good at times and then sometimes bad at times, but I think Tennessee might be the more better team here. I think Notre Dame probably puts up a fight, but it would definitely be a low-scoring type game in that matchup, but I got to go with the Vols here, even though it's on the road at Notre Dame. I got them beating the Fighting Irish here in the first round. And then Ohio State, I think they beat Arizona State here pretty easily. I don't really see a Big 12 team pretty much, making it past the first round, to be honest. And then also, if they were in the second round, I don't really expect them to get past the quarterfinals because I don't think any of these Big 12 teams are on the level of, some of these teams in the Big 10. So I got to go with the Buckeyes here, and especially Arizona State going up against the Buckeyes. That would definitely be a big disadvantage of a matchup there for Arizona State. Penn State, I think they beat SMU here in a pretty close game. Penn State, just because of the home field advantage, that's the reason why I'm going with the Nittany Lions here. And then Georgia and Indiana. Georgia definitely wins this game pretty easily. That game, of course, would be in Athens. A home game in the playoff at Athens, Georgia would definitely be really loud. And that would definitely be a tough game there for Indiana. So I think Georgia beats Indiana here in the first round. Second round in the quarterfinals, I think Oregon beats Tennessee here. Oregon just way too much talent on the roster. I do trust Dylan Gabriel to make the explosive plays, and I do trust, the defense of Oregon to make some big stops on this Tennessee offense. I think both defenses might actually be pretty even, but offensively, you got to get the advantage to Oregon in that game. Ohio State, I think they beat Boise State here in the quarterfinals. I think it would probably be not even a close game either for the Buckeyes against Boise State. Texas, I think, beats Penn State here in the quarterfinals. That would probably be a really good defensive battle there, but I got to give the advantage to Texas here just because they have a better offense than Penn State does. And then Georgia and Miami. This would definitely be a really good matchup. You got Mario Cristobal versus Kirby Smart. Got to go with Kirby Smart, though, in the Georgia Bulldogs. I do trust Georgia in these postseason games, and they beat Miami here in the quarterfinals. And then the semifinals and national championship are pretty much the same from the preseason. I got Ohio State versus Oregon in the Big Ten championship game for the second time, and then, of course, the third, rematch here in the semifinals of the college football playoff. I got to go with Ohio State still, and then Texas versus Georgia for the third time in the semifinals of the playoff as well. Got to go with Georgia here to beat Texas for the third consecutive time. Again, when it comes to these postseason games, I feel like Georgia is just much more prepared. And then I got Georgia beating Ohio State here in the national championship game. And like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I didn't really feel confident with Georgia after the loss to Ole Miss and how they've been performing the last few weeks and everything. But now I do feel confident. I feel like Georgia is going to be a dangerous team once they get into the playoff. But Ohio State will also be dangerous when they get to the playoff. I think it would be a really good national championship game. But I got to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. So I'm going back to my preseason pick here. And I've been kind of sticking with Georgia now, I think, for the last 3 weeks, maybe the couple weeks if I can't remember correctly. But that is my updated playoff predictions heading into week number 14 of this 2024 college football season. Let me guys know what you think about my playoff predictions, and give me your playoff predictions and your 12-team playoff predictions down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.